If you want to go from being a people pleaser to someone who is generous and caring without being over accommodating, this is a segment for you. Get ready because today we have Julia Sen, who is going to talk to us about how and why we become a people pleaser, what it's going to do to our well-being, especially during times of change like menopause, and how to become more self-aware so we can fuel our own tank and give even more generously to others. So I'm super excited to welcome Dr. Julia Sen. She is a clinical and counseling psychologist with over 20 years of experience. She has a full-time private practice and is focused on fertility counseling, parenting, and working with our inner child. Over the last 2 years, Julia has created transformational group programs for parents and for anyone interested in discovering the magic of their inner child. Her mission is for everyone to develop unconditional confidence in themselves and their children. Julia is the founder of the Habit of Heart practice, one of my all-time favorites. And that is a practice that builds security and belonging within ourselves, a key component to achieving success and happiness. She's known for finding the possibility in every situation, and as such is known as the possibility psychologist. She has published the book Too Tired to Parent? Take the CAR, which stands for Self-Caring, Aware, and Reflective People. Welcome, Julia.
Thank you so much, Sue Ann. Thanks for that introduction. And it is such an honor to be here. The work that you do is incredible. So I just love it. And I know your work firsthand, so it's amazing.
Thanks. All right, let's dive in with our first question. Just tell us a little bit of background. What is a people pleaser?
Yeah, I mean, the basics of people pleasing is it's someone who regularly does things for others without regard for themselves. And I think that's the key piece there, the without regard for themselves.
Right. And how do we become this people pleaser?
Yeah, so people pleasing starts quite early in life. Typically, it starts in childhood, usually. And what ends up happening is we have attachment needs, right? Without getting into full psychology of what attachment looks like and all of that here, a child typically needs to be seen, needs to feel safe, and needs to feel soothed or comforted, which is all beautifully explained by Dr. Dan Siegel. So if you want to know more about that, check his work out. But the reality is that child needs that in order to feel like they belong, right? Because belonging allows us to feel okay. And so what ends up happening is when our parents are watching us or seeing us do things for others, often we get praised. Like, oh, you're so sweet. Look at how you did that. That's amazing. And then we feel good when, of course, when we hear that as a child, and it's like, oh, that's what makes me good, right? That's how I'm seen.
Right.
That's how I'm loved. That's how I'm, you know, uh, accepted in my family. And often it's that, it's conditional, right? So that's the only time I hear it, or that's the majority of the time I hear it. So then we're smart as kids. We're like, oh, that's interesting. I see that correlation. And so then we continue to do it. And then we convince ourselves that it feels good, right? Because as a child, it did. I did it. I got praised. It felt good. Yay, right?
Right. Makes so much
Uh,
sense.
yeah, so that's the basics behind it.
Right. And what impact does people pleasing have on our well-being?
Well, I like to consider it through something called what I call a life tank. So just look at this as a bit of a metaphor, right? So we're born with a life tank, and this life tank is full, right? It's got tons of energy, lots of fuel, and then we take from our life tank. Every time we give without doing anything for ourselves, we're taking from that life tank, right? Over and over and over again. But then over time, around this age, right? The menopause age, or depending on the traumas or the stressors you've experienced in life, it could be earlier. So, for example, I work a lot with infertility, and so a lot of the younger moms in particular feel very depleted, right, from that. So the life tank goes faster.
Right.
So the idea here is that around, like, let's, because we're talking about menopause here, around this age, we start to realize our life tank is empty, and I'm trying to draw from that, but there's nothing there. And so suddenly I'm more irritable, I'm frustrated, I'm exhausted, I don't understand why I can't do what I used to do anymore. That's a big common thing that comes into sessions for me. Like, why can't I be? I don't understand. I used to be able to do it and I can't anymore.
Right.
And
And it
it's like,
makes,
yeah, life tank's depleted. So that's a huge consequence because if we don't fill our life tank with self-caring methods, right, then that is going to end up emptying out. And then we're going to be like, oh no, I don't know what's going on.
right.
Yeah.
But sometimes for myself, I feel selfish if I'm not giving or if I'm taking time for myself. So how can we take care of ourselves if and not feel so that selfish?
Yeah, totally. And I hear you on that. It is so, especially if this began when we were little, and is an attachment need, then it feels actually threatening to take time for ourselves.
Okay.
Not even just selfish, it's just like this ick factor that kicks in that just like, this is bad. Somehow bad things will happen if I don't just keep on giving,
Wow.
right? So it really activates that survival instinct. So what
Okay.
we want to be doing is acknowledging that, recognizing that, right? Because we come by it naturally. We also want to acknowledge that society does not, or at least till recently, does not really acknowledge self-care, especially for women, right? What are we guided on? Self-sacrifice, right? Self-sacrifice makes you the honorable woman, mother, whatever that is, right? So we want to start to acknowledge that that wasn't okay, you know, um, and that's the first step. So being aware that that wasn't okay and that we come by this quite naturally. That's step
Right.
one. So we're starting to bring compassion into why we do what we do, you know.
Okay.
The next step is to be able to kind of soothe and comfort that part. So through the habit of heart practice, which you mentioned in the bio, is another little section I created called Be Fabulous, and it's an acronym for BFAB. And the idea here is when you're feeling uncomfortable, you use BFAB as a way to soothe the system out of that survival instinct, and then you'll be able to do the self-care activity that you need to do, right? You'll also be able to say no to people in a kind way, right? When they're asking you for too much or more than you can handle that day. So I will teach you how to do BFAB in a minute, but before that, is there a question or?
Right. Yeah. So that's really it makes so much sense, but it's sometimes hard to implement. So like how do I know from being nice to being a people pleaser? Like what's the difference? How do I go from after I'm doing something good for someone to what's the one side being nice or the other side people pleaser?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is something I hear a lot. It was like, but it feels good, right? To do for others. And I 100% want all of us to continue to do for others. There's no debate on that, right? Being generous, loving, compassionate towards others, hugely important in humanity, right? But the difference is, again, when it's being done without regard for me. So let's take an example. One that my mom sometimes will call and say, the light bulb is burnt out, right, in the closet, right? The walk-in closet. And I'm like, okay, so can you come and change it? Now, she's gotten a lot better, so I don't want to throw my mother under the bus here. She's gotten a lot better, but I'm thinking like some years ago. And she would just be like, can you come now? Right? And I'm like, well, mom, like, no, no, I can't come right now. I could come like on Wednesday, and she would become very upset. And what would happen is I would just say, it's fine, I'm coming.
Right.
Right? But I knew that day that I was really tired and I couldn't come. Right? I knew that day that I had seen a ton of clients. I was just depleted. It was a not normal day for me to take time in the evening and replenish. But because of that, I felt this guilt, right, that I should go and please her, right, because she was in distress. And so then I would give in, right?
Right.
And that's when I'm being people pleaser, right? I wasn't acknowledging me and what I needed in addition to giving her what she needed, right? Which would look like this, right? So, oh, sorry, I'm going to backtrack a second. in order for me to know whether I'm being a people pleaser or if I'm actually just doing it out of my own goodness, we want to do like a daily check-in, right? Where am I at right now? So when mom asks that question, where am I at? Is my tank depleted today? Am I feeling energized? Do I feel like I know I can do it. It's not about can. Is it something that I actually want to? Like, it would feel good to do it, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that we can check via like knowing ourselves in terms of introversion versus extroversion.
Right. Yeah, that was our
Um,
next question. So you can go right into
okay,
about
cool.
that. Being
So
the self-awareness and then going into the introversion, extroversion.
exactly. So the
Right.
idea here would be sticking to that example. So mom asks me, can you come and change the light bulb? And I have to pause for a minute and think to myself, or I could say to mom, let me just think about it. Okay, let me call you back, right? Whatever that is, that's simple enough. And then we stop and we reflect. Okay, where am I today? Well, if I'm a little more on the introverted side, which would mean as I connect with people, I actually am giving away my energy. And let's say I've seen 5 clients that day, I'm likely going to be quite depleted
Yes.
because I don't like my work or anything. I love my work, but just meeting people, connecting, then ultimately depletes my energy. But if I'm more extroverted and seeing my clients was actually a lovely re-energizer because that's what makes me tick, then that works, right? Um, on the other hand, let's go opposite. Let's say I didn't see anybody today and I'm an extrovert and I'm feeling like really disconnected and I'm just like, I don't want to go and do a task for somebody. That's not what's going to re-energize me. So I really wanted to go out with my friends tonight instead, but now mom called to go change a light bulb and I'm not going to make it to my friends, right? That would be, again, denying my need as an extrovert.
Right. Yeah. So it depends on your awareness, your personality, what's going on during the day, so many factors.
Exactly. And a lot of people will say, well, I'm kind of in between, or it depends on the day if I'm an extrovert or an introvert. Usually extrovert, introvert is quite clear. Bottom line is I replenish or I don't via energies of others, right? Um, but yes, there's going to be some variety depending on the day and the week. For me, for example, I can go a week where I'm quite like I want connection with people, but ultimately then I get depleted, which tells me I'm on the introverted side, right? So
Right.
it's not about being social. I love being social. I love it. Like it's not an
Yes,
issue of
because you're an adrenal body type. They love being social.
there you go. Exactly. Exactly. So so that's where we
What was
want to
it,
like
gonad? I forget, sorry. Go ahead.
Um, but what I want to just really acknowledge is that we want to really know who we are and accept who we are, right? And with that awareness, we can then go back to that example. Okay, mom, you know what? Today I'm feeling quite depleted, and I know you really want me to come to change that. I'm not going to be able to do it. I'm going to come and then give a time when you can come, if that's possible. I'm going to come on Wednesday. Oh
Right.
no, Wednesday, no, like, can't you come today? How am I going to go? Like, mom, it's not dangerous because it's just a closet. So I think that was, I know you really want it to be changed. And I'm gonna have to say no today, right? I'm gonna come on Wednesday. Here's the part where BFAB kicks in. We don't like it when people are disappointed from something we are doing,
Right.
right? We don't like it. It's not nice. No one appreciates that feeling. And so we have to soothe that part. And so BFAB soothes that part. So now I'm off the phone with my mom. I'm feeling guilty and yucky inside. She's probably a little upset, but she'll get over it. Like at the end of the day, it's a light bulb, right? Like I'm not talking about 911 situations, right? Obviously, that's not a 911. So now I am going to stop and I'm going to pause. I'm going to put my hand on my heart. I'm going to be aware of my breath and I'm going to do B, which is breathe. And I'm going to be doing a vagus breath, right? So vagus nerve activation breath. And that is a 4-second inhale through the nose and a 6-second exhale through the nose. And we're going to repeat that 3 times, right? So I'm just going to be breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we do that 3 rounds. Both ways through the nose is very important for the vagus activation. And if you're interested in knowing about that, it's the vagus nerve, VAGUS. Uh, Lots of amazing research and information about that out there. So we
I
start
feel
with B.
I feel better already. Yeah.
E is the empathy part. And empathy is actually saying it's so hard when mom is so upset, right? And it feels so yucky to say no. It's just empathy. Right. So I'm like, this is really important. It's not evidence or she'll be fine or it's okay. You needed the time. We're not explaining it. We're not showing evidence. We're just empathizing. This is really yucky right now. Right. F is fact. And even though we feel yucky, we're all still safe and okay. Right. That's very important. Same line every time. We're all still safe and okay. A is for affirm, which is I've got you. So it's a sense of feeling comforted. It's almost like talking to the inner child who's feeling like I had to be the people pleaser. We weren't the people pleaser. Why weren't we the people pleaser? And we're going to connect to her and say, hey, I've got you and I believe in you. That's the last B. We can do this. Right. So that's how you soothe the whole system. You can see that part of you, you're soothing that part of you, you're helping them feel safe. And that allows you to then move forward and actually take the time to replenish because that's what you said you were going to do. Right.
So awesome. I hope everyone is taking notes and writing down the BFAB formula so they have the steps to take when this comes up again. If they've been struggling with being a people pleaser, it's amazing. I love all that you're doing, and this is such great, so many great steps that people can use. Are those actually the steps that you were going to tell us about from shifting from being constantly saying yes to accommodating others and saying no, or that's just one protocol? Do you have any other last tips to share with us?
Yeah, for sure. So the BFAB is the main one because that's usually what's activated. We need to comfort, but it
Yeah.
is also just learning the language of how to say no in a kind way. I know there are many people who are like, no is no. I personally, I don't know if it's because of my South Asian background, I just find that to be a little too disrespectful. So I would like to say no in a kind way. So it's empathy, in fact, right? So empathy, mom, I know you really want me to come today. I know it's distressing for you, and unfortunately, I can't do it today. I will come on and then redirect to when you can come. And if it's a situation where you can't come or, it's just not something you can do, then, let's figure out a way to help you find someone else that can do it or just leave it, right? But empathize first with them. And then fact is the no, right? So you're showing acknowledgement of them because you want to respect people. Um, and one
Right.
thing that will get you to notice, sorry, so go ahead.
It's easy for people to say no is a complete sentence, right? But where's the compassion in that, and where's the understanding, and where's the, accommodating yourself and your feelings for saying no? There's so much more to it as you're explaining to us.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And I think that's where when people get to the point where no is no, I feel like it's because that person has been asking over and over and over again. They just don't get it. And I appreciate that happens. What I like to do is always own what I like, how have I contributed to that? And realize that if I've always said yes, so if I always gave in, obviously they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to ask again. So I can own that, not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that, hey, you know what? I have said yes every single time because I didn't know how to navigate it. So now that I do know, I can change that, right? And I can do it more kindly versus being fed up and just like, no is no. Like, why do they do this all the time? How could they not understand that I'm busy or I'm exhausted or whatever? I've been there, trust me. And now I've shifted into this state, which is much nicer, much more aligned with my values as a human being. And yeah, it's just more replenishing and connecting, and everybody wins this way.
Yes. Awesome. I love all this. It's so many great takeaways for all of that. So many women in any age, but can be, as you said, and especially in menopause when our tank feels empty, if we've been people pleasing our whole lives, take this time to practice this and put it into practice so it can help you feel better and set up firmer boundaries. So thank you so much for being here and sharing your wealth of knowledge with us. And can you just tell the people watching where they can get your link to? Well, the link will be below, getting your what you call Energizer protocol. Can you tell us a little bit about that and their freebie that they can get?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's on my website. And basically, what it is really quick and easy tools to help you shift out of states of like high level stress and cortisol spikes and all of that into states of calmer, more connected, and flowing places. So a little bit of comedy in there, a little bit of you'll see when you get it. But it's just quick little tricks that work quite well to reset our system.
I think I need that right now after putting together the summit.
I bet. I bet.
Thank you again, Dr. Julia. So happy that you could join us today. And everyone, be sure to grab your Energizer protocol and have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Dr. Julia.
Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.